Watch and burn.
Hey everybody. So today I am going to be discussing, Christ, I have no idea when this came out. I think it came out around 85 or 86, and that is 3:15 or 3:15 p.m., The Moment of Truth, starring Adam Baldwin and the chick that played Muffy and Buffy, the twin sisters from the original April Fools from the mid-80s, from pretty much actually the mid-80s. I'll just stick with that. So yeah, I mean, what this tells the story of is Adam Baldwin's character, what the hell is his name? Jeff. And his girlfriend, the chick who played Muffy and Buffy from April Fool's Day, her name is Sherry, if memory serves. And he used to run with this gang called the Cobras. And the Cobras are like the big news around his high school. They're dealing drugs, they're extorting money here, they're fucking stabbing people there. There's all these gang fights. So he used to run with them, but he found that they were getting too violent. So he said, fuck this, I'm stepping back. And so ever since then, the Cobras have kind of had it in for him. And so the movie opens up with a touch of rape, which I don't love. I knew this movie was going to have a bit of rape in it just because of how it's set up. And fortunately enough, it's nothing really. I hate rape in movies, and this didn't turn me off the film at all. It's just like this chick getting her top torn apart, and the guys are like implying that they're going to rape her, but then the Cobras show up and they save the day or whatever. And it's like the school has a number of other gangs. There's an Asian gang. They're always sort of like practicing martial arts. They're useless. Mario Van Peebles is in this, sort of. He's in it briefly. His gang, M16, I think they're called, they're equally useless. They're like this sort of commando, mercenary, military gang. Because God knows military gangs were such a big part of high school life in the 80s. So, yeah, the other gangs in the school are kind of worthless, and the Cobras, like I said, they're the big bads, and they run everything with, like, the proverbial iron fist. And, I mean, look, this movie's really fun. This movie is really easy to watch. This movie's like, it's one of those, like, Saturday afternoon movies, because fortunately enough, the violence doesn't get too violent, and like I said, other than the touch of rape at the start, there's absolutely no semblance whatsoever of anything that could even sort of resemble a sex assault in this movie. This movie is just Adam Baldwin, Jeff. He is trying his best to walk a straight line. He's a star athlete. He's a really good basketball player, and he's trying to score a scholarship. And what's his name is in this too. He plays a coach. I think it was the guy from the... Wait a second. Wasn't it the guy from the show Coach in this who played... Doesn't matter. I think the guy who plays the coach in this is the guy that played Coach on the TV show back in the 80s. I'll have to check into that to see if whether or not I actually know what I'm talking about, because I'm not actually 100% about that, to be honest. I think it's him, though. But anyways, yeah, so he's this jock, and he's trying to, like, walk the line, and he's trying to steer clear of the Cobras. He's just dating his chick, Sherry, except the coach and the school want him to sort of work with them to get rid of the Cobras, but he knows he can't do that because he'll be labeled a rat, which he ends up getting labeled as anyways. And this movie is just so much fun. It's so easy to watch. There's not really much to it. It just kind of comes and goes. I mean, even the Cobras, who are like the big bad, they're kind of blah. They have their little van that they conduct all their drug business from, and it's got the word Cobra spray painted on the side. And it's like, what's the name of that club they all hang out at? Oh yeah, the Zero Club. And it's the tagline for the club is entertainment or death. And I don't even know what that means, because there's a lot of like punk fashion, of course, because this is the mid-80s. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the chicks in the Cobras is wearing a Who Killed Marilyn patch that at this point I think Danzig was making himself, because I saw an interview with James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett from Metallica, and I think Hammett was wearing a Who Killed Marilyn shirt, and Hammett stipulated that Danzig himself was making these shirts at home at this point, and he was lucky enough to be given one from Danzig because they were all buddies and stuff. Of course, the guys in Metallica were friends with the guys in the Misfits. You know, all the people I knew growing up, no, I didn't know anybody like that. Everybody I knew were just sort of like regular, kind of boring. You know, just like I've also heard the story that Les Claypool tried out for Metallica because he went to high school with Kirk Hammett. You know who I went to high school with? Nobody. My friends were just regular people. I didn't go to school with my generation's Kirk Hammett. God, that's disappointing. But anyways, yeah, I mean, What else did I want to say about this? The end of this movie, that's right, the end of this movie, it shares a lot with the far grittier film, The Principal, starring John Belushi and Louis Gossett Jr. Came out roughly at the same time. I think actually The Principal came out around 87 or 88. Radon Chong's in that. And the end of this movie, it ends... Well, actually, wait, no, hang on. The Principal actually shares a lot more with this because this movie came out first. That's right, it's just that I like The Principal way more. So I always sort of signal out to that being the first film. But no, this came first. So actually, The Principal kind of rips the end of this off. Well, it kind of screws up everything I was just going to say, to be perfectly honest. But anyways, yeah, the end of this is a lot like the end of The Principal. The end of The Principal is a lot like this. Everything it comes to a head in like the shower part, the like change rooms in the gym, and it goes on a little long. It just seems to just doesn't end. And then, of course, it does conclude, and Adam Baldwin, who, of course, I always think of Adam Baldwin as being Animal Mother from Full Metal Jacket, so that's why I called him Animal Mother there. But Jeff, he saves the day, he saves his chick, and the movie concludes with a really kick-ass song called Something's Gotta Change by Ruth Daniels, which unfortunately it isn't on Spotify, it's only available on YouTube, but it's a fucking badass song. The song is so much fun. And the end credit track just sort of boosted this movie up even higher. It made it even more fun. And like I said, this movie is a ton of fun to begin with. And yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say, other than maybe I will just quickly throw in again. I loved the whole punk thing because I love the punk thing. And this movie, of course, is from the mid-'80s, so the fashion is very punk. There's a Crimson Ghost in this at one point. I think a kid's got like a Crimson Ghost back patch on. At least I think that's this movie. There's a lot of Crimson Ghost patches floating around in movies in the mid-'80s. I think that's this movie, actually. I'm pretty sure it's when Jeff comes to the window to get Sherry out of class, which would never happen. But the teacher lets her go and everything. And I think one of the kids in her class has a back patch of the Crimson Ghost. But that's it. So I'm going to leave it there. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little over 7 minutes while I discussed the 1986 movie, 3:15 p.m., The Moment of Truth. Like always, if you like this review or you like this movie, don't forget to go and do something nice for somebody. But most importantly, never forget that the world is so much more fun because you are in it. Whatever it is you're going through, it's going to get better. So just hold on. I'm getting out of here. Have a good day or night or whatever.